Hola amigo, I am Anjali and welcome to my channel Info with Anjali. Today Anjali is here with a topic: what type of motor is preferable for e-vehicle? When it comes to selection of electric motor, there are hundreds of motors available in market. So, which motor will you choose for your vehicle, for your e-vehicle? So for today's info session, I have filtered out some of the motors which are used for traction purpose today. I mean for which are used for today's EVs. And let us begin without wasting the time. So these motors are DC motors. Here we are talking about DC series motor, and the next one is BLDC motors. We have induction motor. The next one is PMSM motor, that is permanent magnet synchronous motor. The next one is SRM, that is switch reluctance motor. So let us go with the very first motor and very basic motor, that is DC series motor. So DC motors were most widely used motor for the traction application in the early 1900s, and because of by its higher starting torque, its easy speed control, and its capability to withstand the sudden increase in load, these motors are still used in our Indian railways. But what is happening is we are using brushes and commutators in the DC motors. So there is a sparking at brush side, and because of by which your brushes are dying day by day. So you need to replace your brushes, and because of by which the frequency of changing your brushes at the end, frequency of the maintenance is very high, and this is the biggest disadvantage of DC motors. And another thing is its speed regulation is quite poor, so that's why this motor is used for Indian Railways only. I haven't heard any e-vehicle other than Indian Railways which is using DC motors. But the next motor which we are going to talk about is upgraded version of DC motor, that is BLDC motors. As in this DC motor we have replaced the rotor with the permanent magnets, so we are saying goodbye to our brushes and commutators, and that's why this motor are called BLDC motors. And as the brushes are not here, the BLDC motors are able to rotate at high speed, and they are of course very highly efficient compared to the DC motors. And when we are talking about BLDC motor, its running speed is a synchronous speed, and its rotor are permanent magnet. So the question coming to mind is, hmm, running at synchronous speed, motor is permanent magnet. Are you talking about PMSM, that is permanent magnet speed motor? So there is no major difference between BLDC and PMSM when it comes to construction and the motor control system, but the only difference is nature of driving current and detection of the position of rotor, as the BLDC motor is working on the DC sources and your PMSM motor is working on the AC sources, as we know. And for the detection of rotor position, we are using 3 Hall sensors in BLDC, and only single Hall sensor is used for PMSM. Otherwise, BLDC and PMSM are quite similar, and I am not going to discriminate them for this session. And when we are talking about advantages of this motor, so as there are no brushes, there are no sparking, and less maintenance is needed. Its efficiency is quite high, it is 85 to 90% efficient, and overall size is reduced. When we are talking about BLDC motors in context of e-vehicles, we have two types of BLDC motors, and very first one is Outrunner type BLDC motor. So what is in this motor? So the speciality is its rotor is outside and the stator is inside. So, and because of by this construction, this motor are also known as hub motors because the wheels are directly connected to the exterior rotor, and this types of motor doesn't require the external gear systems. Some motors itself has the planetary gears, and that's why these motors are choice of many electric cycle manufacturers like Tronx, Sparrow, Lightspeed bicycles. Also, this is the choice of many two-wheeler manufacturers like 22 Motors, NDS Eco Motors, and more. And another type of BLDC motor is in-runner type of motor, which is like conventional motors. Rotor is inside and stator is outside, but as rotor is inside, it needs the external transmission system to transmit its power to the wheels, and because of by that the outrunner configuration is quite bulky compared to in-runner configuration. But many three-wheeler manufacturers like Goenka Electric Motors, Spigo Vehicles, Kinetic Green, Volta Automotives are using this BLDC Outrunner type of motor. And as you can see here, this is the motor which was used in Ather scooters. And when we are talking about the BLDC and PMSM motor, the only advantage, biggest advantage which PMSM motor have is the torque ripple, and because of by which this motor is choice of many manufacturers, and many automobile manufacturers are using these motors madly in their hybrid and e vehicles. And Toyota is there. Nissan Leaf is the very good example which is using this PMSM motor. Another example is BMW i3, which is using the motor of PMSM as the traction motor and for their propulsion. So this was about BLDC and PMSM motor. The next motor which we have is induction motor. There is no need to talk about working and construction of induction motor. Let us jump to advantages. So this motor is having very simple construction. It is very rugged. It requires very less maintenance compared to other motors, and there are no brushes, so there are very low losses. And as there is no permanent magnet, the speed control of this induction motor is quite easy, and as there is no any position sensor, you don't require any switches. The overall complexity is very much less compared to other motors. But the only thing is, this is not the lightest and the most compact motor amongst other motors. But when it comes to application, it is used in many e-cars, and Tesla is one of the leading companies which is using the induction motor as a traction motor for the propulsion in their electric cars. And Tesla Model S is the quite good example which shows the efficiency of induction motor. And actually, I think that Tesla is trying to eliminate the dependency of permanent magnets by using the induction motor for the propulsion purpose. And even Mahindra Reva ETO also uses a three-phase induction motor for its propulsion. Major automotive manufacturers like Tata Motors are planning to use the induction motor in their cars and buses. Even the two-wheeler manufacturers like TVS motor, it will launch its scooter which will use induction motor for propulsion. And induction motors are very preferable choice for performance oriented vehicles due to its cheap cost. And the other advantage is its withstand rugged environment conditions. So due to these factors, Indian Railways has started replacing the DC series motor with induction motor. Isn't it a good thing? And the last motor is switch reluctance motor, and this is a very good and power electronics based motor Let us see about this motor. This motor falls under the category of variable reluctance motors. It is very simple in construction and a very robust mechanism is there, and it is very suitable for the high speed application. It offers a very high power density, which is the requirement of today's EVs, and it is because of by its very simple construction, it is very easy to cool the motor. And as you can see here in the animation, we are using permanent magnets as a rotor, and we are just changing the polarity of poles in certain manner to rotate our rotor. But as it is using the switches for such purposes, its overall complexity will increase up to a very much good level, and its switching circuit is increased a lot. But I can say that this is the only thing which is making it quite lower than other motors. But once the SRM enters to the commercial market, it can replace the PMSM and three-phase induction motors in future for sure. And if you Google about Tesla Model 3, then it shows that it is very first car of Tesla which is not using induction motor, but it is using the SRM motor for propulsion. And more clearly, it is using the IPM SRM motor, that is internal permanent magnet switch reluctance motor. So let us see which motor is quite suitable for your application. Depends on the torque, speed, and many more things. But this was the overview, as there are hundreds of motors available in the market. Also, there are hundreds of batteries available in market for e-vehicles. So, as we discussed about motors, just think which battery will be suitable for your vehicle. Think on it. I will meet you in my next session. Till then, stay tuned, stay happy, stay healthy, and sayonara. And if you want to suggest anything else, any other topics on which I should make the videos, keep commenting.